So my wife and myself were trying to figure out like, hey, how are we going to continue to build our wealth and our assets? How are we going to make the impact that we're trying to make, right? Are we going to be able to, are we just going to do this on our own? Are we going to be able to do it with our own funds and our own money? Or should we uh, create a vehicle that would bring that and would attract other people to come on board and work with us, right? So
We're Jacqueline and Melvin Landry, and we welcome you to our podcast, Get Diversified. Throughout these series, we'll cover all the topics and questions you have about investing in apartment buildings, storage facilities, and mobile home parks. Being knowledgeable in these areas will help you feel more comfortable about investing. Apartment investing equals building wealth. Building wealth equals financial freedom. Achieving financial freedom allows you to spend your time with building memories with your loved ones. Let's face it, time is the one element in life that is limited, and you don't.
Hello, folks, and welcome to Get Diversified. My name is Melvin Landry, and welcome to the show. I want to be the first to welcome also our guest to the show, Mr. George Salas. Welcome to the show, George. How you doing, brother?
Melvin, what's up, my brother? Man, I'm doing
Another day,
blessed.
Another
Doing
day,
fantastic.
another day. George,
Love it,
hey,
man.
thanks for being a guest on our show, and we're looking forward to speaking with you here today. So, hey, guys, hey, George is a mover and a shaker in the real estate space. He's a mover and shaker in the short-term rental aspect of things, and I'm happy to have him here as part of the show so he can tell his story, the progress he's making, and where he's taking this thing. So, George, welcome again, brother.
Man, I appreciate you, brother. It's a beautiful thing to just us, build our relationship over the last few months, and then
Yep.
now I'm here sharing a little bit of my story, talking to your audience. So thank you for the invite, man.
Indeed, indeed. Well, George, hey, man, we'll let you kickstart it off, man. Why don't you tell the viewers a little bit about you, your progressions in the real estate, all the way to where you've gotten to today. Go ahead, buddy.
Absolutely. So I like to call myself short-term rental strategist, right? And
Okay.
I like to say that I help people, help my clients, help investors create lifestyle assets while they build vacation equity, right? And what that
Mhm.
means is we're in a world where all types of investments out there are essentially very, very simple and monotone to me, right? Like, so we specialize in creating very unique types of investments, which allow our clients and our investors to really enjoy while they invest, to really love what they invest. Because, if you let's just say, no offense to any other asset class out there, you rent a property long term, you never get to enjoy it, right?
Mhm.
So, yeah, man, that's what we do. And just to tell you, all of you folks, just to tell all of you folks my story in about 2 minutes. My story really started when I was about 15. I moved here to the U.S. from Peru, and at the age of 15, okay, and I started at about 22 years old. When I really went into trying to develop something of my own, becoming an entrepreneur, and I started actually in the hospitality industry,
Okay.
Melvin. Right, so I was a waiter. I started as a bartender, all the way through about 22, 23, and then at 23 is whenever I launched a small little company. Okay,
Mhm.
and it was a marketing company. So I would go around marketing these venues for bar owners, for like venue owners, restaurants, bars, and I would create these really cool like gathering of people, right?
Yep.
And I mean, I'm sure you've heard of hosts in Vegas where they
Yep.
run the shows. I was that guy that would
Work
put
there.
together the entire thing. I would produce an event. I would market the event, and I would bring a lot of people, and people just and they would just come and have fun at that place, right? And this was all over Houston. I've done it over 80 different venues in Houston, Texas. So that was me through about 20, 27 ish.
Okay.
27 years old, right? And maybe 28, at full force, right? And then what I was doing was, pushing people there. And, I was in marketing, but that was the MySpace days, right? And then I ended up actually doing so well in this industry, and I was top in the city, right?
Okay.
That I was able to save about $500,000. And then I was able to really connect with some operators, right? That were in the industry, and they were building out they were building out essentially their deal. So I came in as a limited partner at the age of 27 years old, and I invested. I was already an investor in my mind, right? I invested into a deal as a limited partner.
Okay.
And unfortunate that it was, the deal ended up going sour, right? Meaning like they opened up in quite a bit of debt, and then I put in a few $100,000, about 350 from 350 into the whole deal, from savings that I had saved over a few years, and essentially 60 from personal funds, personal loans. Wow. Right. So I went into this deal as a limited partner. And this was a venue that was being built by another operator, right? And I was young, man. I'm just like maybe 10 years ago, right? Okay. So I ended up getting into this deal and learned quite a bit, right? And I was super young, and I trusted this person, given that like I didn't actually know how to do the actual due diligence or how to perform the proper due diligence at that time. So we got into the deal. The venue opened up, and a year and a half later, it ended up closing down. The doors got shut for us. So I ended up losing a few $100,000, and that was sort of a down for me at 27 and a half years old, right? I lost quite a bit of money, and this was somebody else's investment. And then that's what my true entrepreneur career came about, right? That's when I went into real estate, and I started learning. I started studying, and before even then, I wasn't even in the position to really go in at full force, right? I was a little bit lost, right? And then when you're lost and trying to figure things out, sometimes you don't know what to do, but something inside me told me that I couldn't stay where I was at, right? So I had a couple breakthroughs, right? One day, one of my friend calls me and he says, "George, I need you to come to my flip." Right. So he was at this flip. So I go to his flip, and then he's got like 15 people there, and then essentially talking to about 15 people about real estate, about investing, about doing flips, about wholesaling, and then that's when I had the spark. It was a breakthrough. It was an exterior breakthrough. Okay. Right. And the next day I woke up and I was like, I can't stay where I'm at, Melvin. Like I can't do that. I mean, I've got to get up and go even harder, right? So that's when I decided I had to get into real estate, and then I had to change my life. So this was about 5-ish years ago, right? So it was towards the end of when I was in the hospitality sector, okay? So I did that, and in my first year of real estate, I started doing deals, and I did about 20 wholesale deals. I did about 7 or 8, maybe 10 flips that year. And that's when I found short-term rentals, right? And that's when I started transitioning. I started building a portfolio, and I built it out. And a lot of my units were smaller units. I was taking some of the wholesale funds and then taking them into, doing rental arbitrage. And then I was doing some flips as well. And I was turning some of my flips into STRs, right? So by 2020, I had about 40 doors. Okay. And then COVID happened, right? And that was another like sort of a knock in the face. Yeah. COVID happened, and I'm sure you remember those times, but I felt like I was a little bit of trouble. I had a lot of my units downtown, and as many people didn't get hurt during the COVID crisis, right? The vacation rental industry for us, we had a smaller units, and they were in Houston, and the city was shut down for about 6 weeks, right? So I realized that my model was not the model that I really wanted. And what I wanted to build a business that would create a lifestyle and would create freedom for me, right? And with these smaller units, just the margins weren't enough. Okay. So I realized through, lessons and through, mentorships and courses and books that I was in the wrong business model, Melvin. And that's when I transitioned to our current model, right, during COVID. And our current model is creating lifestyle assets. So we do median properties, right? We take median single family properties and turn them into median luxury STRs. And we're essentially creating lifestyle assets for ourselves and our investors and our clients. So from then till now, our network and our net worth has grown tremendously because we were able to really find our niche, right? So I know that was a little bit more than 2 minutes, but I wanted to break that down for you, brother.
No, man, a fantastic depiction, first of all. Second of all, I didn't realize the hospitality piece. I don't know if you know, I've worked in hospitality too as well. I've lived in Vegas and worked for both of the largest casinos,
Did not know that.
Caesars and
Fantastic.
MGM, corporate as a corporate career. Secondly, you mentioned entrepreneurship, right? Sometimes it comes with highlights, it comes with lowlights. You fell on your face, you're able to get back up and get your aha moment. Not quite sure if you knew, thanks to real estate and owning a single family portfolio, it saved me and my wife from bankruptcy before we really took off in multifamily. We were living in Dallas.
Love it.
We closed before COVID because we had gone 4 years and hadn't made anything. We lost $1 million, but it was a wake up call, and real estate ended up being the blessing to save us in terms of legally being able to navigate through the waters and realize success. So I can totally parallel to your story. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely.
Hey man, so tell me, man. So you found your niche. You're on a roll now, and things are kind of getting to where they need to be. You're progressing. You're doing very, very, very well in your space. What's the next step for George and your family in terms of that next trajectory, in terms of the high path for entrepreneurship?
Absolutely, brother. So last year, I got married, right?
Okay,
And so
congratulations.
my wife and I, and then towards the middle of the year, at the beginning of the year, we got married, and towards the middle of the year, we had our first child. So he's
Congratulations
about eight
again.
months now. Thank you
Yep,
very
yep, yep.
much. So my wife and myself, we were trying to figure out, like, hey, how are we going to continue to build our wealth and our assets? How are we going to make the impact that we're trying to make, right? Are we going to be able to? Are we just going to do this on our own? Are we going to be able to do it with our own funds and our own money? Or should we create a vehicle that would bring that and would attract other people to come on board and work with us, right? So, and then that's at the beginning of last year, towards actually more towards March or May, March, April or May, something like that, is when and I decided to start researching on how to create a fund. Okay, so giving April, May, right, June, those were the first about 3 months. And I mean, coming from 5 years of experience at the time, 4 years, and really understanding our market, having found our niche. I mean, we going back to 2021, we even hit our highest numbers last year in 2021 as well. Like we did over seven figures in short-term rental income. So we've we've been running quite a nice little small management company that operates these units with us. And then now, instead of having like 55 units, we've got like a third of that, but it brings almost the same amount of income, right?
Okay.
With
Feeling. Okay.
way less work, with way less stress, way less headaches. And I mean, literally, it's just one third of the work. And then the income is almost the same as before, right? So we made that transition, right? And we realized that we couldn't do it on our own, right? We wanted to go either, hey, do we do private money? Do we do our own money? Do we go family and friends, or do we go big or go home, right? So to us was just the decision was easy, because when you're trying to make a decision, Melvin, right? You make it based on the end goal that you're trying to get to, right? So our end goal was to not just create a lifestyle and freedom for ourselves, but it was to make an impact, right? Our mission is to have 1,000 of these investors who we've helped by 2025, by the end of 2025, right? So 1,000 investors who invested into our vehicles to invest by 2025, right? We want to make an impact by talking to people, by creating these educational podcasts, by creating platforms where you can share your message, Melvin. And when you share your message and share the struggles and experiences that you have fell into, and also share how you've come about from nothing, or from really falling on your face to getting up even harder, it's when people learn, right? That's because everybody goes through the same, and most people don't share that they lost a few 100,000. They just want to say all the cool stuff. They just want to say all the good stuff, right? And that's okay. But people want to know, right, how you fell down and got up. They just don't want to know how you made it to the top, right? So that's what I'm here to share. And then what we're doing right now, Melvin, is amazing. We've structured a short-term rental fund over the last, well, let's say 9 months, 6 months of structuring, and about 3 months of learning how to do it, right? And I'm excited to share with you guys what's going on there, man. But yeah, that's about it, brother.
So I know, George, we right? You mentioned having a plan, right? Having an ecosystem, right? Having collaborations, right? For you to kind of course correct and really take off like you've been, right? So I know we're part of a similar consortium, right? We're part of the Raise Masters consortium, right? And that's how you and I got the opportunity to meet one another. And when I first met you, George, you were you were working in the lab, putting that infrastructure together on the fund, and it's pretty cool to see how you've kind of transformed things and where you're at, and how you're launching and how you're growing. And it's fantastic to see. Question for you. Say for
Yes,
instance,
sir.
hey, my name's Joe, right? I'm a new guy in the space. I
Mhm.
want to get into short-term rentals. Could you give me some advice, Mr. George? What would you tell that guy named Joe?
Yeah, absolutely, Joe. So first of all, Joe, what kind of what kind of end goal do you have for your investments? Are you looking for something more on the growth end where you
Mm-hmm.
can exit really nice, chunky, and big? Or are you looking more towards a goal? Like, are you, you want cash flow, or are you looking for, your money to double, triple, right? And do
Mm-hmm.
you want cash flow and some on the back end, right? Do you care more about the front end, cash flow right now, or do you want a big piece at the end?
Okay. I would say, look, I'm just trying to get diversified. That's all
Yeah,
I'm new. I'm trying to get diversified and I'm learning. So how would you direct me to get started if I'm thinking about getting into short-term rentals? I'm a newbie, so I'm just taking baby steps.
I love it. I love it. So, well, getting diversified is fantastic. What we do is we help investors create lifestyle assets while they'll build vacation equity,
Yeah.
right,
Mm.
Joe? And what that means is you're essentially investing in an asset class that's fun. You can enjoy, right? Because you're going to be a partner of that asset, and you're going to be able to go enjoy it,
Yep.
right? And then sort of like check out what that asset is. Not just something a vehicle you're putting money in and never see it, right? So that's what I call creating a lifestyle asset,
Mhm.
right? Or
Yep.
creating an asset where you can love and enjoy and have
Joy.
a great
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
right? So, and on the back end, we're building equity and creating cash flow for our investors as well, right? And then that's what a fund is. And our fund is a vehicle that we're structuring. It's sort of a pool of money. It's a
Hmm.
company where money is managed by an entity that we call the general partner, right? So the general partner manages that money, and then we have limited partners coming to invest into that fund. We invest into the fund as well, right? But the limited partners come and invest, and we give them a portion of that. So they get a portion of the operating cash flow every
Sure.
month, right? And
Hmm.
they get a nice little distribution check every quarter, but obviously it's every month, but they get distributed every quarter. And then at the end, when we sell the assets, then they get a big chunk, right? You get a big chunk, Joe. So that's how this works. It's pretty simple. It's pretty straight up. Obviously, could go into more detail, but
On
let me
behalf of
know,
Joe,
brother.
we appreciate that advice there. So very good. Thanks for sharing that there, George.
Yes,
So
sir.
hey man, so hey, next question, man. Another 3 to 5 years, right? You're growing, right? Things are falling into place. Where do you see yourself from a growth trajectory? And what are some things that are in terms of high profile goals that you're trying to reach, say next 3 to 5 years?
I love the question, brother. I love the question. So, within 3 years, our goal is to get our property or our I'm so sorry. Within 3 years, we've got several goals. Other than having two funds,
Mm-hmm.
our goal is also to have 150 properties within those two to
Okay.
three funds. Okay,
Okay.
the first fund we're scheduled to we're underwriting about 50 to 60, okay, in the first one, and in the second one, possibly the remaining up to 150, right? So our first number one goal is to get this company to 8 figures, right, and then to be able to create about 150 of these lifestyle assets, right, for us within the company. Now, personally, right, I've definitely lots of lifestyle goals, right, and my wife and I plan on having another child, and we want to teach our family to be real estate oriented, right,
Mm-hmm.
and to grow and be many little investors,
Yep. There you
right.
go.
And as we build these companies, right, we also want to make an impact in this world, right. So we love to consult, we love to talk to people, we love to teach our clients so that they can build their own assets as well,
Okay.
and create their own cash flow, their own lifestyle, right? As we do it. So we're growing in two sectors, right? And one of the sectors is us doing our events, bringing in people to work with us. And then another sector is people investing into our company so that we could do it for them.
Gotcha.
Right. So those are two sections. So our main goals in both is 1,000 consulting clients in 1 million lives touched or impacted, right?
Okay.
Through financial freedom from our strategies. And those 1 million lives could obviously have our investors, partners that we work with, fund managers, right? And then just strategic relationships like you and I. Right. So that's pretty much, what we've got in the horizon for the next 3 years, brother.
Oh, good, man. Fantastic. Wow, you're doing a lot, man. You got some real huge goals. But if anybody I know is going to reach those goals, it's going to be you, George. That's for sure. You're moving the shaker, man. What you're doing very, very well in that regards. Let's talk about market specific, man. I know you're in Houston. So are you giving considerations to other markets, or are you specifically concentrating on Houston specific? And tell the viewers why your thoughts and why.
Absolutely. So I am in Houston, first of all, and Houston is one of the top 10 markets in the U.S. for short-term rentals, Melvin. Okay. So Houston has its advantages and also has its disadvantages. An advantage is that there are a lot of people traveling here, a lot of people moving here, and a lot of development going on. Almost too much development. Now, right? Another advantage is that Houston did not get really affected by the 2008 real estate recession, right? So the numbers didn't really change. If you go back and look at the real estate market, Houston didn't really get affected, right? So now when it comes to short-term rentals, Houston is a little bit oversaturated, but if you know how to create niche properties, niche listings, niche short-term rentals, then being oversaturated is for the people that have mediocre listings, right? Most of them are going to be mediocre. 80% of listings out there are mediocre, simple, very, very basic furnishings, basic style, basic idea. And there's lots of houses out there that are basic, right? But if you can create something unique, you win in this space, Melvin, right? And that takes skill, because it's not just real estate skill. It is also creativity, design, vision, right? And it's also marketing. It's packaging that STR, packaging that property as a full package where people are going to oversee the value. They're going to think, and they're going to take this property and they're going to pay your $1,000 a night or $800 a night because they perceive that the value is more than what they're paying, right? They're getting a better deal.
Two key words that you just mentioned: perceived value. Perceived value. When you have a perceived value, people will pay the price, regardless of what it is. Regardless of what it is, they will pay the price. They understand the value. They realize it accordingly, and it's a win-win for you as the fund manager, right? And dealing with the fund, as always, also as the guest, right? They want that experience, and they're willing to pay for it, right? So, and everyone has a point, right, to which they're willing to pay for their actual utility and utilizing that the asset of what you're providing. So thanks for sharing that. So George, man,
absolutely, brother, absolutely.
Hey, man, as we look to kind of close this thing out, here's a curveball question for you. Think about the best piece of advice that anyone has ever given you, man. What would you say that that best piece of advice is that you've kind of carried on even to today?
Absolutely.
Anything that comes to mind?
So, sure. I got you, brother. So I'm going to take a combination of 3 pieces of advice on how to live for success. Okay. And essentially, I learned this from one of my mentors, right? His name is Darren Hardy. Okay. So I've been in lots of his programs and learned so much from him. Right. And essentially what stuck out to me was how he develops his core values, right? And then just from learning everything that he shared, right? I took 3 little pieces of advice from him that I apply into my life every single day. Okay. Number 1 is always be learning and growing, right? So I am an avid learner and I'm an avid addict for growth. right? So no matter what, anything that helps me grow, I know that it's going to compound over time and it's going to pay off at a 10x value a year, 2, 3, 5 years from now, right? So I'm always growing and learning. Okay. The second thing is I'm always actually figuring out like why I want to do things, right? So the why for me, the why, it's extremely important because that's like the deeper reason, right? So like whenever I make a decision, Melvin, I'm trying to figure out like, does this meet my purpose, right? So the second thing is purpose. Like, why did you come to this world? Like, what is your ultimate purpose in this planet? And for us is helping investors create this life of freedom and lifestyle through short-term rentals. So if something does not meet my purpose, right, then I don't do it. Right, because we entrepreneurs have a lot of shiny object syndrome, and sometimes you just got to align with your purpose and try to find a purpose and a why within the things that you do every single day, right? So that's the second thing that I've learned: learning and growing, and purpose. And then the third thing is, no matter what, success leaves clues, and it takes time, Melvin. Right, and because it takes time, I mean, look, I mean, you know, the audience knows, I know that it doesn't come easy, right? So the one thing you've got to realize is that you have to improve your process every single day, right? No matter what you do. Like this morning, I was learning something. I was just having breakfast, and then I heard my wife being on this call with one of my wife's an EXP, right? And she works with agencies. She was learning from one of our friends, Connor. He's a guy, I mean, multi 7 figures earner from their EXP recruiting downline or whatnot, right? So, and the guy's talking about his day, breaking down his day, and I'm like, whoa, what is that? So I'm like, whoa, I'm not doing that in my day. I took one little piece just from having breakfast, and she had her Zoom playing there on her phone, right? And I took one little piece, and now I'm implementing that piece, and I am changing and I'm improving my process. So the third thing is process. You've got to improve and change your process no matter what. Because most people underestimate what they can do in 3 years, but they overestimate what they can do in 1 year. Tony Robbins says most people underestimate what they can do in 10 years. Imagine, right? So I get, and I heard this quote from Vishen Lakhiani in one of his books, The Code of the Extraordinary Mind, right? And I've heard Tony Robbins say it. I've heard Grant Cardone say it, but believe it or not, it takes time. And we all know it, right? It takes time for success. So if you improve it a little bit by a little bit every single day, then you get to that goal eventually because you've tweaked it so much every day that now you've got it right and it became a habit finally.
Success leaves clues. Clues drives additional habits, gives you the chance to try. Hey, life is about continuous improvement, right? You got to try to get better at least in some portion at some point every day, even if it's 1%. You move the needle, which is pretty key and critical. Wow.
Absolutely.
Great nuggets, brother. Great nuggets that you dropped. So, wow. Appreciate that
sir.
fully. So, George, man, won't you tell the listeners, man, how can folks find you? How can folks kind of get to know more about the Mr. George Salas?
Absolutely, brother. I've got a couple places, right? So if you want to just connect with me, all my stuff, everything, all my social medias, I've got a calendar scheduled to connect with anybody. It's on my site, George Salas 360. There is a link there where you can schedule a call to hang out so we can connect and see if short-term rentals are good for you, or if you just want to connect for whatever reason, and you like to do business and you're learning about short-term rentals. I mean, my team can have a strategy call with you as well, right? With anybody out there. But yeah, that's the site. And then soon, hopefully, when the show comes out, Empress Capital will be live. So empresscapitalgroup.com. That's our website, and obviously it's for accredited investors here only, right? So we got to verify if it's accredited. But other than that, that's where you can find me, brother. Appreciate you.
Sounds good. Well, George, hey, man, really, really, really appreciate the time you took today to kind of speak to us here about your journey, the growth and where you're going in the short-term rental space, and your trajectory and where you're looking to get to. And you're making headway, bro. So we appreciate you and your time, and thank you so much, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you having me.
All right.
Bye-bye.